So I'm sitting here with Marcus. Marcus is one of our top agents at the Dig Agency in our free leads program. And boy, does he have a story, an arc of accomplishment to share with you. A little bit about Marcus. Last month in March, he wrote 75 apps over the phone from the comfort of his own home for $70,000 in premium, which, guys, that's like top 1%, probably top 0.5% as far as production goes. And so we have him here today to introduce him to you, to learn more about what he does, to be this successful, and how he went from writing really a third of these apps. His first month, he wrote 25 apps, and how he scaled up and what techniques he's used. So guys, if you're new to this business and you're looking somebody to model after, you're looking for ideas and techniques to improve your own sales capabilities, this is definitely the video to watch. So Marcus, how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you, man. So
Yep.
how did you get in the final expense?
Um, I was actually a personal trainer like you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I started as a personal trainer, and then I met my girlfriend, soon to be fiance and wife,
Congratulations.
yeah, as a client.
Okay.
So I was after we started dating for a little bit, we started to get more transparent with each other. I told her I was how much money I was making, and it was pretty bad, like close to $13 an hour. So yeah,
Women have a way of inspiring you, is what you're saying,
yeah,
right?
she
All
like
of us.
yeah, she's she's like, I really care for you, but do you see yourself having a future here? And I'm like, now that you bring that up, no. So my, so my younger brother found out about this guy who was supposedly making a decent income selling final expense, but it was with one of the MLM agencies. So I
Right.
originally started there first, crashed out of there within the first few months. And then I hopped into another agency, which was all face to face. I was buying direct mail leads, but what happened
Really?
was, yeah, so it was actually someone that worked within your agency too. Um, and I found him on YouTube. I joined his agency doing face to face, all direct mail leads. But what happened was I was putting it all on my credit card, so I wasn't managing my money right. I thought I was making all this money, but then when chargebacks hit, and I didn't realize I was making as much money as I thought, I got into a whole bunch of debt. So then I stopped doing final expense, and I got another job as a personal trainer. Um, and then I started paying off all that debt from final expense. And I'm like, okay, now that I'm debt free, let me give final expense another shot.
So you knew there was something there. It just,
Yes.
the setup was not a lot less than ideal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was very young at the time too. Like I just didn't have an idea of what I was doing. I didn't understand chargebacks. I wasn't understanding the commission structure. I thought my AP what was going to get deposited into my bank account. No
Yeah.
one really said explained how the commission was going to pay. So a whole bunch of ups and down journey, and then that led me to joining the Telesales group. I was originally going to do self gen with you,
Right.
with Tim, and I was working a part time job to pay for all of that stuff to maintain it. I fizzled out in about 4 months, and then 2 months after that, the free lead program came out, and I'm like, this is my last shot. I'm going all in. This is like my hope and my gateway to the final expense business and being successful. And um, here we are now.
So
Last month.
let's talk about your production. You mentioned this earlier. Tell the audience just how much the free lead program has helped your production and consistency.
All you do is sell. You don't have to worry about anything else. First month was 25K in premium. January was about 35K in premium. February was 50K, and then last month was 70. And then for week alone, I hit almost 20K.
Yeah,
So
that's right. I think you beat
last
Jay.
was
Didn't you beat Jay?
yes, I did.
You did. Go get
Last
him.
week, best week, 23 apps.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And yeah, I just see I see it continuing to go up. Once you're in the zone, it's like you can't slow down. You just keep pressing down harder.
Yeah, man. Well, so take me through, because this is the thing, and I was telling you earlier, like I've had the hardest time initially accepting that a free lead program, which you're at a lower commission than buying your own leads, could actually pay you more money. and could actually allow for more success. So I think it would be really helpful to hear kind of, you've been on the side of buying your own leads multiple times. And now
Mhm.
you're on the free lead side and you're crushing it and way more consistent and getting better and better. Why? Explain that to me and explain that to the audience, because I think they need to understand this.
You can't buy 200 leads a week with $0 in your bank account unless you're okay with being in debt.
Yeah.
Unless you're okay with it. I
Yeah.
don't. Some people's risk tolerance is different. If you don't have a business mindset and you know how to operate a business and knowing and being okay with being in debt, then go broker. But I personally believe that most people don't have the business mindset to operate brokering and being okay with not having cash flow in the beginning, because a good chunk of your business is going to be on credit cards. You're not going to always get advanced 75%. So you have to be okay with grinding things out for a full year and potentially not even being positive in that first year of cash flow, or very minimal. So that was the biggest thing for me. And with going on free leads, it's just like sell, 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 sell. You don't think about that. You don't think about having to buy leads every week. You don't you I have or three monitors. I'm like texting and dialing at the same time. I'm like selling, selling, selling. That's all I'm focused on doing. So that was the biggest mindset shift for me to just start producing
You
way
know,
more.
it's there's so much to unpack here, and I think it's worth going into more detail. The first thing I think of is sell, sell, sell. I forever have preached you got to sell one product. It can be final expense, it could be something else, but the idea is if you
Mhm.
specialize in one thing, you're more likely to be successful. But what I've learned is that going even further and just specializing in selling the one thing versus selling and marketing, that even is even more helpful for more people, right? Because, when all you have to worry about is not your debt you're managing, which is way more worrisome than, I gave it credence to. And all you have to worry about is just picking up the phone, dialing and texting. I mean, life becomes pretty straightforward. You know what you need to do, and it's a lot easier to accomplish. And the thing I want you to talk about, because I agree with you, and you've kind of hit on the surface of this, is going into debt and the kind of problems that it causes. Could you speak to that? Is that something that you found difficult, that you were going into credit card debt? Did that affect your decisions? How did that affect you early on in the business?
When I first started, um, I think I racked up about 15 grand in debt. And at the time when the most money you've made in a year is like 40K, 15 grand is a lot of money. So it was like a big mountain for me, and I just didn't know how to navigate that. I wasn't thinking to myself, just get into more debt so you can work your way out of it. Which
Yeah.
now I see that as the way, but when you're in the midst of it, it it's hard. You know, I took a step back. I just got a job and I just did the slow thing, slow and steady to pay it off. But um, it, it's kind of scary if you've never been in debt before, um, knowing how to navigate it. So that to me it was hard. I just didn't I wasn't experienced at the time, and I worked for my uncle, a family store too, and watching how he ran his business kind of inspired me to give Final Expense another shot, because he's running like a pretty big like supermarket, and I saw like he has to spend thousands of dollars just to make pennies on
Yeah.
like a apple, for example. He's making like 5 cents on an apple, but he
Right.
has to buy of all these different produce and all that stuff. So watching how he ran his business kind of inspired me to get to broker once more. So, um, but like being young and not realizing how to navigate it was the tricky thing for me.
Do you think that having and carrying that debt and having to add more to it affected your performance at all, like actually selling?
Yes, because now I'm more commission, or I have more commission breath. I'm not relaxed when I'm selling. I'm not
Yeah.
detached sale. I'm not forcing people to make a decision. I'm not like super anxious on the call. I'm just very relaxed. I know what they need, and I'm just focusing on serving them, and as opposed to focusing on my debt. If you're very if you're all you're thinking about is your debt, and you have to make the conversion on these leads to be profitable, um, the way that you approach that phone call is going to be completely different.
That's been for me the big eye-opening thing is that when you're, and it's thinking about it, that's how we all are. We have debt, it's like an anchor around our neck, and in a performance-based activity, which what we do is performance-based. If you're in a position where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make the mortgage payment, or I don't know if I'm going to do this, like it affects how you present yourself to people. And I always discounted to the extent that it does. And the one thing I've noticed with like you guys in the free lead program, the stress level is just it's I'm sure there's stress, but it's
Mhm.
nothing like being a broker. Like I'll get emails from brokers that they're panicked. They start blaming the leads, they develop a paranoia complex, they start getting away from doing the things they need to do, like buy leads consistently. And it's the proverbial flushing of the person out of the business, whereas again, what the brilliance of the free lead program and what Tim has designed is that you just go in and you sell, and you can trigger that up to the highest extent that you can, and you don't have to worry about losing money. And taking that losing money concept out just frees you. And again, the power of it is you just sell more. It's just incredible.
Amen.
Eh,
Beautiful. That was
So
beautifully.
thank you, thank you. Again, I can't speak this enough, and I say this because I'm a broker at heart. Like I'm a businessman. My uncle started XM Radio in part. My grandfather ran a business. My dad sold his business, chemical company. So I think like that, but most people don't. And you take
Yeah.
that stuff for granted, So I've had to change some preconceived notions so that we can help more people stay consistent in the business. And I'm glad that I woke up to it. Now let's talk about your transition, because I think I want to leave some pro tips here to the crew watching this.
Mm.
How did you go from writing 25,000 to 75,000 in a matter of a quarter, right? In over 3 months, you've tripled your production. Kind of highlight like the top three things that you think are responsible for this progression and the increase in your sales.
A lot of sleepless nights. Um, Seriously, it's not an 8 hour shift. It's not a 9 to 5 and you're done. I'm used to working open to close at my uncle's store. Like 15-hour days were the norm. Like he would call me he would basically say you're weak and you're down or whatever. He's like, man, you're only gonna work a 10-hour shift. What the hell is this, man? We're busy as hell today. Whatever. So I've always had that ingrained in me to work long hours. It's part of our culture. So 50 hours, 60 hours, I just started increasing that time on task. The main thing, honestly, I used to do everything on one laptop. I was hunched over like this on one laptop. Now I have three. I have my script open here, I have FEX toolkits here, and I have another monitor here with managing the CRM and texting. So while I'm dialing, if I get a text coming in, I'm responding to that right away.
Right.
Speed to lead, even speed to lead versus with texting too. So my first month with that money that I made, I'm like, all right, let's make an investment. And that investment is 3 monitors. Now I
Yeah.
have Slack up, I have the CRM opened up, I have FEX toolkits opened up. I'm dialing, triple line dialing while I'm texting leads and trying to book an appointment with people while texting. Second thing too that really helped me is I was like a sponge with information. When I like This is the first time in final expense that I went all in.
Mm.
Every other time that I did it was part time because I had another job to pay for my leads. So now I'm all in final expense 100%, which was scary as hell because I've never done that before.
And I mean,
So
you had struggled and failed out a couple other times
yeah,
too, so there's that
so,
too to consider.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm like all in. I have to do everything it takes to make sure that I make it. Um, and that was a lot of practicing with the script, a lot of phone calls with Tim, a lot of inner work too, like feeling like grow in yourself to become that to become successful. Like if you start to see yourself as a $70,000 a month producer, before you hit that $70,000 a month, you're gonna eventually get there. So that was another mindset shift for me too, is to just start to see myself as a top producer, and it eventually came. But not with a lot of struggle. So now
Of
I'm
course.
making it, yeah, now I'm making it seem like it's easy, but it wasn't. After each day, I would spend an hour listening to my calls, comparing those calls with other top producers' calls, and listening to how I sounded. When I first sounded, I sounded like, "Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is Marcus calling you back." Sounded like very weak, like somebody who wasn't capable of getting the job done. Spending a lot of time like perfecting that tone. You know, like if you listen to a song with 1 billion streams versus 100,000 streams, you'll notice the difference in how they sound, right? Which one's more appeasing? Which one's more appealing? So I'm like, my voice doesn't sound good. It sounds weird. I'm talking
Yeah.
too fast here. I'm talking too slow here. Like literally like a mad scientist breaking down my performance. And it is a performance. You're in the NBA when it comes to final expense, when you're selling final expenses.
Sure.
Got to wait every day with that performance, and being willing to stay at 100% every single day, every single minute of the day, every moment on every phone call. I think that was my biggest game changer too. I was taking that for granted. I didn't realize uh, how on top of your thing you had to stay in
Yeah.
order to be successful.
Yeah, and I think everything here flows back into being like not just like, oh, I'm full time, being all in. Like this is everything. And that's the thing. A couple of comments here, and questions for you. Is there a correlation between the amount of time that you work to the amount of sales that you make? Do you believe?
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, guys, if you're like, well, I just want to do 20 hours a week. Well, this is why a lot of people fail. Is because think about Marcus. This is your competition. This is the ideal of what a top agent looks like. And what he's doing is a lot. It's probably a lot more than you thought. But the truth is that's what it takes to be the best. That's what it takes to be at the top. Right? So why don't you cut out the bullshit and do the stuff that actually gets you to the top, right? And Marcus has laid it out here. You have to have a work ethic, right? 50 hours plus a week is the bare minimum in my mind. Um,
It
again,
really.
bare minimum. The guys that are doing, their guys doing way more than that with us, but that's where it starts. If you're going to be serious about this, you got to be coachable, right? Marcus is coachable. Tim is tough on his people, right? Tim doesn't take BS, but he cares. He wants to help you, and he's going to tell you things that are going to fix what you need to improve on. And so you have to have that humility and coachability, because letting the ego go is how you get improvements. It's how you go to the next level. You have to have the theater of the mind, right? I like this. This is what I call it. You know, it's envisioning what it is that you're going to become and then taking the steps to get there, right? Because you have to see where you're going to be eventually one day, right? And then the last thing, of course, is listening to yourself, which of course is the most cringy thing. Hold on one second, Marcus. Yeah, let me hit on that too, because like I hated listening to myself. You know, when I used to record myself, and it's like, oh, I don't want to listen to myself. But the thing is, if you listen to yourself, you're your worst critic. You really are, which is what you need. It's like, oh, I didn't do this right. But once you get over that fact of, oh, I don't want to, I sound bad, that's the first step to getting really good. You know, so that's interesting. And again, you mentioned the NBA. What do all the top professional teams in all sports do? They sit down and they watch their tapes. They watch the tapes of their competition. They watch the plays they run. They watch their own. Because how do you get better? You see what you do and you fix it, right? Again, the analogy of this as a performance-based activity really helps. If you think about this with a sports mentality and what the top players and top teams do and transmute that into selling, it's the same thing.
Mhm.
So
And
awesome.
you mentioned Tim. I can't. How the hell am I forgetting about Tim? I'm sorry, Tim. Whenever you watch this, love you. I love you so much, man. You're the biggest part of my success. Um, Tim. you need somebody to push you, man. You
Yeah.
need somebody on your behind, because once you get to 70K, it's very easy to let off the gas. But when without Tim in your corner yelling at you, telling you, "Hey, give me two more, give me three more," it's like, "All right, Tim, all right, let's go. There is more in the tank. There is more to give."
Yeah.
And Tim is very good with like calling you out on the parts that you're bad at. And when Tim used to tell me, "Marcus, you sound high on the phone," it would drive me insane. It would piss me off so much. But you're right. You do have to let that down. It does not matter if you've been selling for 20 years. Throw that shit out the window. It, listen to what Tim has to say, because if you don't listen to him, he wants to do is help you make more money.
Yeah.
That's that is his bottom line, to help you sell more policies. And if you're not taking his advice to sell more policies, then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shout out to Tim for that,
Yeah.
because
Tim is such a critical partner in our business, and what he's been able to do with training agents and keeping them accountable, plus the system side is just it is like it's world class. It really is. And that's what's great about working with us, is that on the telesale side, for sure, if you're looking at doing free leads, broker, whatever, Tim is an unmitigated straight person to shoot you exactly what you need to hear. And it won't always come off as nice. It won't always be, sugar coated, but it's what you need to hear. And if you have the right mentality, like what Marcus has, which is coachability, being humble, and understanding ultimately, even if he may push you, that he's doing it because he cares and wants you to do better because he knows he sees more in you than what you have. Like, that is what so many people need. And it's what holds a lot of people back, because if you don't have that kind of stuff, and again, stuff that I didn't realize in my many years of doing this, like, you're leaving a lot on the table you don't have to leave. If you would just expose yourself to true mentorship and accountability, that's the big thing. Any final thoughts here for wrap it up, Marcus? On anything at all, the business, your success?
yeah, in the beginning, it's gonna feel like you're walking through a cave blindfolded with no idea of when the hell you're gonna get to the other side. So just keep walking. You'll get to the other side, and just keep pushing. You'll learn pretty quick on how to make adjustments. Make adjustments as you move on. My last piece of advice that I think really helped me too is, when you make an adjustment, just change one thing at a time. Don't change too many things at once, because now you're not going to know what needed to be changed.
Right.
And that's it.
Marcus, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you, man. It's such a blessing to be surrounded by people like you, and who work hard, who apply themselves, and to see just the turnaround you've had it's been a blessing, and I'm grateful to be part of your success. So thank you so much, man. Really appreciate
April's
it.
going to be here. Let's go.
That's right. All right, guys, if you want to learn more about joining the Dig Agency for our free lead program, the sell over the phone, you can go to daviddufour.com. What you need to do is watch the video that plays for a full overview of what it is that we do. And then you'll see what next steps to take to join a Q&A call, to ask us questions, and to get more information if this is right for you. So, guys, thank you for being here. Have a good day.